Hello, and welcome to For Further Review. I have two very special people for my guests this evening. I have Rebecca Few from John Pittard Elementary, and I also have Karen Cook, who is from the Discovery School. And they are Math Common Core coaches. So the first thing I want to ask them is, Rebecca, could you please tell us what Common Core is?
The Common Core was adopted by the state of Tennessee. It is a set of standards that we are first going to implement for math, and it is taking a set of over 100 standards and condensing it to 25. And we are going to focus on rigor, we are going to focus on coherence, and we are going to focus on being focused, which means that we are going to focus where the standards are.
All right, thank you. Karen, could you talk a little bit about why this move to Common Core? Because we've had standards, and in fact, we just recently have gone through a revision of standards. So why are we taking what appears to be another revision of the standards?
Currently, our standards are more a mile wide and an inch deep. They don't go very far. We cover a lot with very little depth to those standards. So what we're hoping with this Common Core is that these standards will be much deeper. They'll be much narrower, but much more purposeful, much more application-based, and in hopes that we'll be providing college readiness and career readiness for our students, even at the elementary school level.
Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like in a classroom? So when we walk into a classroom in which Common Core is going to be implementing, how is that different from walking into a classroom of today which would have state standards but maybe not have the depth that you're talking about? What does that look like in a classroom?
The one thing that I really think you'll see differently is a lot more exploration, much more hands-on, and the teacher will take more of a guide-on-the-side approach and allow students to kind of experiment and toy with certain new math skills, math standards, until they kind of understand them a little deeper. It allows the child to explore into their learning, and the teacher only facilitates. So I think you're going to see a lot more open-ended discussions. You're going to see a lot more math reasoning and kids talking about what they're doing in mathematics. You're not going to see a lot of procedure-based, and that's where I think the real difference is going to come. There are going to be many different ways that students can find answers and solutions to those problems. And that's what we hope, that they're learning how to apply lots of different mathematical applications to help them solve those problems, real-world problems, really.
One of the things that I hear you all talking about, words like depth, words like real-world, words like career and college readiness. Rebecca, it sounds like there's going to have to be a lot of training for our teachers to change from more of the 2 + 2 = 4 to talking about the relationship of numbers and how we apply that to the real world. Could you talk a little bit about what kind of training we might expect to have teachers undergoing?
Right now, what we are doing is we are going from procedure-based learning to that deep conceptual understanding, and like you said, with that, there will have to be a lot of teacher training. And what the state of Tennessee is doing for us right now is, as core coaches, we are being trained to then in turn train 14,000 teachers this summer on the Common Core and what that looks like in the classroom. We want to show teachers what it looks like, not just give them a bunch of standards and say, here you go, do the best you can. And then our hope is, and we will be following up as core coaches, is that those teachers will take it back to their districts and take it back to their classrooms and their schools and implement it and show the teachers in their buildings what it looks like as well.
Well, I think it's quite an honor for you, Karen, and for you, Rebecca, to have been chosen for this. Could you talk a little bit about the preparation you are doing now? You're talking about basically you'll be training the teachers in Murfreesboro. We need to talk about that, but that's what my assumption certainly is and my hope is. But I know that in order to train teachers, then you yourself have to have some preparation. So could you talk a little bit, Rebecca, about what that preparation, what have you been doing to ready yourself for helping teachers understand this change that we'll be undergoing?
Karen and I spent a weekend in April in Nashville, and we received intensive training with the Institute for Learning out of Pittsburgh. And then we had a homework assignment where we went into the classroom and we facilitated what this is supposed to look like. And I think that we both had we had high expectations, and those expectations were definitely, the kids rose to the occasion. In May, we had another weekend-long training session, and we had more homework. And then next week, we will spend all week in Nashville training and preparing and talking with one another about what this is going to look like as we roll it out for the teachers in Tennessee.
Karen, next week, some of us at the central office will be spending some time. Actually, we're going to be a pilot district for the English Language Arts Common Core, so we'll be going there to get our initial look at that. Could you talk about the timeline, the state, just in general, about when Common Core will be fully implemented and how we'll be progressing toward that? Could you address that just a little bit?
The past year, 2011 and 2012, K2 went to Common Core across Tennessee. So this upcoming school year, 2012 to 2013, we're going to be partially rolling out the Common Core for mathematics. And that is how the state has taken two focus standards from the Common Core set of Common Core standards and per grade level. And we're only focusing on those two standards. They are the most rigorous, the ones that will take the most practice and most time for each grade level. So right now, for this coming school year, it's just two Common Core math standards for this coming school year. Then by the year 2014, that's when we will have full implementation.
So the teachers will be teaching their standards they've been teaching, but they will take two of the Common Core standards. Is that what that looks like to begin implementing this year then?
Yes.
Okay.
For the testing that we're going to be doing in the upcoming school year, we'll still need to go by the Tennessee standards that we currently have. But yes, in those additional two Common Core math standards will really be the ones that will pay off largely for each grade level, and I think that's why those focus standards were chosen.
Okay. Let me shift just a little bit in thought. Karen, I'd like for you to take some time to talk about what teaching in Murfreesboro City Schools looks like and what it means to be a teacher here, the expectations of teachers, and why you are here. If you would take some time to share that with our audience, I would appreciate it.
I think it's a very unique responsibility and pleasure to get to be a Murfreesboro City School teacher. It is so inspiring when you've got a child that is struggling, and through your efforts you finally get them to gain confidence and try something new. To hear them get excited. When I taught my class a different strategy for multiplication, it was crazy. You don't often hear third graders so excited about learning multiplication, but mine were, and that's an exciting thing. There are so many changes in education right now that it is very, it can be, tiring, but it's also, I see this Common Core as invigorating because it's bringing a new life to teaching, and it's really allowing teachers to get a little more creative in their lessons that they're preparing. It's exciting to see kids get excited about that. And, kids need to take that ownership role of their own learning, and I think these Common Core standards are really going to help them in doing so.
Good. Let me ask you this, Rebecca. What's your vision for Murfreesboro City Schools?
We have a vision that we've talked about at the state level, and that's every child, every standard, every year. And that's very powerful to me because when you look at children and our expectations for them, we want every child, every standard, every year, but not just focus on the standards, but truly focus on how the child is doing academically, socially. All of those pieces have to fit together in order for us to have children that are ready to be productive members of society.
What's the one piece of advice, Rebecca, that you would give to someone who wants to be a teacher?
Put your seatbelt on. Be ready to change, be ready to grow, be ready to be pushed. My advice is the same it's the same it's been for my 11 years of teaching, and that is our children deserve to be loved, and they deserve to have the best education possible. And whatever that takes for us as educators to do, we need to be up for the challenge.
Karen, what's your best piece of advice?
I would say, remember why you're here. You're here to serve children, and you're here to see them succeed. And remember that that's your charge. And I also think find someone in your building that you can really rely upon and call upon them. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And be ready for some change, because change is a good thing. I think we're sometimes very resistant to change, but it's exciting. It's hard work, but nothing comes easy without some change. So,
Well, I appreciate very much you being here. It's a real pleasure to be your colleague, and it's an honor to work with you in Murfreesboro City. Thank you for your support and for joining us today.